first things first, we get the guillotine. So let's say that if you're right-handed, this is probably gonna feel better with the head on your right side when we're getting in here. Big thing on the guillotine, for me, as far as making it more successful, is really getting that hand as deep as you can get it. You really wanna get that sucker underneath. A lot of people will get the guillotine and they have a lot of trouble with it because they go shallow. They'll start right here and they'll just go right across. Now that could work. Could definitely work. There's guys that do like this. I just like to really shoot in for it as deep as I can. I had an old boxing coach, and he would like have us hold our hands up really high, like when we were doing pads or bag work, because he said, so this way when we're actually boxing, our hands will drop to where they need to be. When I practice the guillotine, I really like to get as deep as possible. So even if I'm a little bit more shallow when I'm grappling regularly, I'll still have a pretty good depth on it. Hand positioning, you can go, you know, there's a lot of different stuff. I'm giving you guys a basic one today. I typically make kind of like a fist here, and you can either grab under like this or the wrist here. This is the ones I typically use. Again, there's a lot of different ones like reverse, gables, and everything else, but we're sticking to the basics right now. Here we go, okay? So from there, we got the grip here. Now, when we do this, the important part about this is where like a lot of people, especially early on, they mess up with the guillotine. For instance, like if the person hops to the, go and hop for me, right here, they'll hang on to it. And unless you know what you're doing, there are a few little tricks that you can do from here, but unless you know one of those, you want to let go of this and start to defend, because there's a lot of counters to this, like a Bon Fu choke. Right here, and he can start to choke me, or eventually when my arm does come out, it's going to be susceptible to an attack. So when we finish a guillotine, we want to keep that person's body on the same side of his head in relation to me. So essentially, if you drew a center line down my body, I want his body to either be in line with that center line right here. Like if I lock up a full guard here, he's kind of like right in line with it, right? He can also be in a half guard with his head, and again, he's over on his side of it, like my body's here, or my center line's here, he hasn't cut across it yet. He can also even be over to the side, come on, just stay right here, and knees right here, like this, and I can still finish it. The minute he starts to cut across to the other half guard, where he's now cutting across the center line with his body, now I start to lose the position. It's really hard to finish a guillotine here, and if he gets to a side control, it gets even more difficult, okay? So just keep that in mind. When you get the head tucked into the side, you're trying to keep that person's body on that side to finish it. Okay, so we're just gonna go through and do a basic finish of the guillotine first, and then we'll get to the setup. So all I want you to do, your partner's gonna be nice, he's gonna stick his head right in your armpit. I want you to get that arm nice and dug in there. So again, notice here, I don't just try to hug the neck, I try to push my armpit down top of his head, get in here and grab my, it's almost like you're trying to pledge allegiance. And then from here, grab the grip. Now, when I finish, I don't want to fall back flat. This was a mistake that you'd see a lot of times in MMA fights back in the day. They'd get here, and you've probably seen this before. The guy starts to do this, and not even that. Usually if it's here, you'll just see it, and then head pops out, okay? So what we're gonna do when we finish this, we're gonna get to our side, here. Notice that I'm on my hip and not my back flat, okay? And then to finish, you can lock the grip, lock the legs up, although you don't necessarily have to finish it. And then to finish, you're gonna rock the baby, okay? And so what I'm doing is I'm doing a side crunch here, and I'm doing that, you'll hear the term called a high elbow, okay? We're rocking, pulling that elbow up, and you're kind of pushing his head down and doing an oblique crunch down there like that. So, one more time, shooting in, get the grip, tuck in, got our legs locked, or they can even be open. We just want to keep them tight because I don't want him to be able to, this one's the real important one. I don't want him hopping over this leg here. Now to finish, rock the baby, get the finish, okay? Last time, then you guys will practice. Just a different angle here, just in case. Okay, so again, boom, boom. Get the side angle here, lock, or stay tight, rock the baby. Right here, before we go up, we off balance it. Now what happens is his hand posts up, and a lot of times that neck will start to show itself a little bit. Right here, because like, you know, down here, a lot of times people are a little bit more tight. As we start to bump up, boom, head comes off. As we come back, you can start to snatch that up, okay? And you can go right into it in north position. You can also use that same, similar setup where we go across here, really push the head around. Now you could use this in a couple different ways. One, you could sort of switch and try to like go over top, although it seems like be a lot of hand adjusting. But what ends up happening a lot of times is when you push someone's head into a position or push their body into a direction, they almost instantly will try to do the opposite. So if I'm here and Pat gives me a little resistance and I move his head just a little bit, He, a lot of times, is going to try to push it back, and as he pushes it back, I can switch and go right into it. Now again, that switching is a little slow right now, but again, if you get really good at pummeling that through, it'll become quicker. So you can use either one of those off-balancing ideas we used earlier. For right now, just to start off with, if this is newer to you, stick with just the Kimura style over here. He posts, this hand comes back around, and then what we want to do is, as we're landing, we don't want to go to square. We want to, and by square I mean straight up on him, we want to land getting back to our side here, okay? Now from here, one more detail I forgot to show just a minute ago is when we finish, this top leg is really important. So this one, along with like having to rock the baby with the arms and everything else, this leg, this little hamstring crunch. This is a trick I learned from a guy named Josh Meaner, really good guillotine. Uses it all the time to finish. And his whole thing was using this heel and this leg to crunch up and really get like a good hamstring crunch out of it. So as you're doing all those other details that I shared with you, also add that hamstring crunch into the mix of it, and it'll give you a little bit more pressure on the neck. So again, from here, we're inside full guard. Maybe we get the hands out to the side. Maybe the person's just kind of sitting there like with his head dug into it, his elbows in tight, whatever. Sit up, boom, boom, get him off balance, push him in. As we come back, get your grip. You're gonna get it as deep as possible. You wanna try to have his head right into your armpit. That hand sneaks in, reaching across as far to your chest as you can get. And as you're coming back, switch, and then link your hands up. Now, once we're finishing here, get your grip and use that hamstring crunch along with all the other details to finish. Okay, so again, it's right here, here, pulling in, and then getting the finish. Any questions, guys? All right, let's give it a try. Back and forth. 1, 2, 3.